10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2.
Today on Studio One, in the classic novel Huckleberry Finn, Mark Twain spotlights 19th century racism. We'll tell you more about the debate to censor the racial slurs found in the book. Also, sand is usually meant for beaches. We'll show you how Tibetan monks add a little color and a lot of detailed work to make a masterpiece. And in our Studio One spotlight, barbershops are known for friendly chatter and clever banter. If you sit down in this barber's chair, you'll hear a lot more.
From the University of North Dakota in Grand Forks, this is Studio One.
Hi everyone, and welcome to Studio One. I'm Monty Cashel.
And I'm Ashley Tredan. So I remember when I first got my puppy. It was back in 7th grade. I was so excited, just full of life and full of energy, this little puppy it was. And then I realized all the responsibility.
Oh yeah, it's a great teaching thing.
It is. My mom expected me to bring it out for walks, feed it. So later in the show, a woman's going to come on and talk about the responsibilities of a first pet owner.
All right, a lot of good information to come there. Also, the moment it was published in 1885, Mark Twain's Adventures of Huckleberry Finn created controversy. More than 100 years later, it's still making headlines. We'll tell you why.
And it's springtime, which means spring cleaning. Sometimes that seemingly simple task can be overwhelming. We will talk to someone who helps others organize their living spaces.
But first, here's today's news with Amy Unruh.
Thanks, Monty and Ashley. President Obama addressed the nation this week to clarify our role in Libya. The mission to remove President Muammar Gaddafi from power has been clearly stated. Both Republicans and Democrats have criticized President Obama's policy. Those opposed to U.S. involvement in Libya are questioning the purpose, cost, and possible consequences. Obama admitted that regime change may have to come by force, saying that Gaddafi is a danger to the world. An investigation is underway to determine what caused the deaths of 9 hospital patients in Alabama. It is believed that they were killed by a bacterial infection from contaminated IV bags. Aside from the 9 deaths, another 10 or more people have been infected by the breakout. Right now, the cases are limited to 6 hospitals, but it is unknown if more could come up. Pet owners have long been aware of potential poisons lurking around their home. However, many have not realized that some of the most dangerous culprits reside in their own medicine cabinet. Accidental pet poisonings from household products are some of the most preventable and yet some of the most common emergencies seen in veterinary clinics. Many items in your home may be safe for humans and toxic for pets. The most common of these items are medications. Medicines such as Tylenol or Advil can have drastic effects if ingested by a pet.
It causes kidney failure. Typically, we're going to see more kidney or liver injury from the medications.
Pets that have consumed human medication are at high risk for permanent organ damage. If this happens to your pet, contact your veterinarian as soon as possible. As people age, they may not be able to thread a needle or read small print books, and it might be because of the eye disease macular degeneration. A new study found that adding fish to a woman's diet decreases her chances of having the disease. Women are more prone to this disease than men. Some women may turn up their noses to sardines, swordfish, and salmon, but these slimy creatures provide the essential omega-3 fatty acids needed to help vision. The study proves that women who ate 1 or more servings of fish per week were 42% less likely to develop macular degeneration. Adventures of Huckleberry Finn is a classic piece of literature that was first published in 1885. The recent censorship of this timeless novel has created a controversial debate among many of its readers.
Reading is an activity that everyone can enjoy. Although required reading can be a tedious chore for students, some claim it can be painful in another way.
I've been teaching Huck Finn probably for about the last 10 years, if not more.
Recently, a censored version of Huckleberry Finn has been published and has sparked a lot of controversy in the world of literature.
Students and people need to know what was going on in stories, what was going on in history, what was going on in our culture during that time, so we can kind of make better informed decisions.
The censored version takes all 219 appearances of the N-word and changes it to slave. But is it right?
I mean, that's the point. It's to soften the language so that it doesn't have that negative historical impact. But it also removes the pain and it removes the suffering. And that's a part of the historical reality.
Supporters of the censored version say that replacing the N-word while reading aloud to the class is more comfortable for teachers and students.
I'm not Mark Twain, but I don't think that Mark Twain meant for people to be comfortable if they were going to read that. Because I think Mark Twain was portraying what it was actually like during that time.
Many people now question whether kids will learn any lessons from the new censored novels, and if confronting America's ugly past is better than trying to avoid it. Reporting for Studio One, I'm Thomas Mesrick.
Other novels, such as To Kill a Mockingbird and Flowers for Algernon, are also experiencing censorship in the classroom. The final decision on which version to use still remains with the teachers and their schools. And that's the news for now. Monty and Ashley?
Thanks a lot, Amy. Well, of course, if it's a classic, people will still talk about it, and that's how you know it's a classic.
That's what makes it. Well, let's head to the man that has his eyes on the skies, Ben Schenk.
Thanks, Monty and Ashley. You know, although I do love a good classic novel myself, I love even more a good storm system. And that's what we've been talking about today, is a very typical storm system we see developing off of the southeast, what's called a nor'easter or northeaster. People commonly call it a nor'easter, however. And what happens is that the system will develop down the coast near Georgia, South Carolina, and kind of start off as a fairly normal-looking low-pressure system. However, as it progresses northward, it rapidly decreases in pressure and strengthens in a process that many meteorologists refer to as bombing. Now, again, as it goes even farther northward, it continues to grow in strength and decrease in pressure. Now, what this allows for is that as the system moves northward, and it'll pick up the warm, moist air off of the Atlantic Ocean and kind of wrap it around along the east coast, along the entire way. And it only gets worse the farther north it gets, because as it gets towards Canada, the cold, dry air from Canada comes in and conflicts with the warm, moist air that we see coming in off of the ocean. And that allows for fairly large precipitation events that are commonly associated with this. Now, this time of year, it's fairly common to see kind of a wide variety of precipitation events, so it's really kind of up in the air to what this particular one will become, but it's not uncommon to see snow events or freezing rain events associated with this type of system. Now, they'll be having a little bit more normal weather next week throughout most of the Northeast. However, it's going to be a little bit cooler through the Midwest and the upper Northwest and the Pacific coastline, a little bit warmer as well down near the Gulf of Mexico as some of the warm air moves up from the Gulf. Now, as far as precipitation goes, it's going to be a little bit wetter along most of the East Coast and the eastern states, and a little bit drier near the Arizona desert and parts of the Central Plains. It's also going to be a little bit wetter near the Pacific Northwest, continuing the trend we've seen the last few weeks. Now, later in the day, we have a story about potholes and how cities combat them, and that brings us to our weather question of the day. How much does Grand Forks, North Dakota, a city of about 60,000 for our viewers back home, budget to fix potholes every year? I've got to be honest, Monty and Ashley, I myself don't really have a good guess on this one, so I can't give you much of a hint.
I don't really know either, but I know that cold weather helps along the potholes, so everybody experiences them in the cold weather area. Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
Yeah, that's right. I mean, if you have winter, usually when the snow goes away, you've got potholes.
Yeah, it's a roller coaster ride.
Yeah. All right, well, let's turn now to some sports highlights and David Folsky.
Thanks, Monty and Ashley. The Chicago Bulls are finally looking like the dominating powerhouse they once were in the 90s. Not only do they own the top record in the Eastern Conference, but they also are led by Derrick Rose, the frontrunner for the NBA's MVP award. Rose and the Bulls would travel to Minnesota to steal some love from the hometown Timberwolves. Closing seconds to the half, and Kyle Korver is going to hit one at the buzzer. Only 2, but the Bulls would still lead by 13 at the half. Third quarter, Kevin Love is going to go in for a layup, but Omar Ashik deny him as Love graciously hits the floor. Ashik looking on as Carlos Boozer is going to get the bucket at the other end. Later in the third, Gibson's going to hand it off to Derrick Rose, who's going to drain a 3. Rose had 23 points on the night as the Bulls beat the Wolves handily, 108-91. Off to Hockeytown's second period, the Blues, Matt D'Agostini is going to knock it off his skate. The ref's going to say no goal, but after further review, it's going to count. Not that they would need it. Later in the second, it's now 7-3 Blues, and Vladimir Sobotka is going to get the rebound off a center ice shot as he's going to poke it in. Third period, Joe Louis Arena is giving Bear fans Chris Porter. He's going to get his second goal of the game and of his career as the Blues shellac the Wings 10-3. 1 in 148 quintillion. Those are your odds of getting your March Madness bracket completely right. This year you have better odds of watching the game you want. True TV, TNT, TBS, and CBS are broadcasting every single game nationally this year. It is the first time this has been done in NCAA history. Fans can also watch live on the internet. Online viewing is up 47% from last year. You can also see every big moment right on your mobile device. Live video highlights and stats are all options on this year's free March Madness app. According to reports, over 36% of people who streamed the tournament did so over their mobile device. At the start of the tournament, it became the most downloaded app on the iTunes App Store. So now the time for the Studio One Sports Trivia question. How many cows does it take to supply the leather for a year's worth of footballs in the NFL? We'll answer that later in the show, but that's the sports. Monty and Ashley.
Thanks, David. You could argue most every job is important. Maybe one of the most important jobs belongs to the Easter Bunny. The animated movie Hop takes us on a bumpy ride where the Easter Bunny puts his eggs away and brings out the drumsticks.
Also, clutter gathers due to unmade decisions about where objects belong. A professional organizer is clutter's worst nightmare. We'll give you her best tips next.
At the University of North Dakota School of Engineering and Mines, I can experience education that fits my goals.
Become a competitive graduate in a global market and learn in small class sizes where professors are also mentors.
Work in a diverse team and inspire young minds.
Help develop world-class research.
Gain state-of-the-art technical knowledge while building strong business and leadership skills.
And stay connected even after I graduate.
Your future depends on this moment. Take the path that leads to your future.
Studio One is a television show produced by staff and students at the University of North Dakota.
Here you actually get to do your own stories and you get to go out and talk to people and interview and learn about the cameras and everything that goes into like a live television production. I mean, it's incredible.
Give it a try. I mean, even if you're not broadcasting communications major, anything, I mean, it's worth it.
What does cancer look like? What about diabetes, heart disease? Medical laboratory professionals are a vital link in the treatment of disease and maintenance of health. They investigate clues found in the body that will direct patient care. The University of North Dakota's laboratory science programs are some of the most innovative, far-reaching, fully accredited programs in the nation. The UND School of Medicine and Health Sciences can help you become one of the few who see beneath the surface.
You're watching Studio One from the University of North Dakota in Grand Forks.
Big projects are time-consuming and often stressful. Cleaning house is one of those ongoing battles. However, with a little organization, a house can stay clutter-free for longer. Professional organizer Charlotte Wood has seen about every kind of mess and says she's never found one that she couldn't remedy. Really?
That's true.
Welcome to the show.
Thank you.
Well, how did you know, first of all, that organizing could be a career for you?
I didn't actually. I grew up as an Army brat, and one of the things my mom did before we moved every 3 years was to say, choose your favorites of our objects, because we had to make weight. So we had to reduce what we owned. And that, because she focused it positively, it was just a natural thing to do. So we would gather our favorite things together first, then we would sort what was left, and it made the moves so much easier.
Sure.
And I continued doing that.
Okay. And so since you were a kid then, you've been doing this.
Yes.
When you look at a mess, what's the first thing you discuss with your client?
We ask the client, what's wrong with this? What do you want to change? Because really it's about the client's perception and their goals. And if they talk about the situation, then I can understand what needs to be changed.
Okay. So once they do tell you that, what is the next step then?
We break it into 4 sections and just deal with it one section at a time, looking at each and every piece of paper, every object, and putting like items together.
Okay.
That's how it goes.
And we actually have a picture, and it's a before picture.
Okay.
And when we see a space that looks like this, you talked about putting it into sections, you know, and then the after, of course, looks much better. But how do you section it out like that to clean it up?
Well, in the before picture, you can see a child student desk under the table. That was the first decision the client made, that that desk could be donated. And so we removed the desk, and there were boxes on top of the desk and inside, and we dealt with those first. Just one box at a time, each item, and she ended up recycling about 80% of the paper.
Oh, wow.
There was only about 15% of those items that were useful to her today.
Okay. Now, that are useful to her. Now, what about the things that aren't useful? What happens to all of that?
Well, with the paper, that was pretty simple. It was recycled. But she also is a crafter and had made cards, and we were able to box up and donate cards for our troops serving overseas.
Okay. How do you get past the hurdle of that, you know, that thing that people just don't want to throw away? I mean, do you have to counsel people into actually throwing some things away?
No, because usually the clients that call me, they're looking for change, and I won't argue with them about any of the objects. It's their stuff.
Yeah.
They know how they feel about it. I'm helping them decide what to do with the things that don't matter to them, to make more room for the things that do, for their treasures.
Sure. The treasures, right.
Yes.
And some things that maybe would seem like treasures, people might have to give away just to get a clutter-free area. Is it a stressful process?
It doesn't have to be. And if we do reach a point where the client feels uncomfortable, we just take a break and move on to something different, something that she doesn't have an emotional attachment to.
Okay.
Because we do have feelings attached to our possessions.
Sure. And we have another picture of the area that you helped declutter. And this looks pretty normal. I mean, if you saw my garage, it would look similar to something like that. But then I noticed you used a couple of things to organize. How important are those things to organize?
Well, the things come second. First, we want to reduce what's there. And once you've gone through the process of reducing the things that don't matter, it's easier to pick a container the right size and shape for the objects that you're keeping.
Okay. And it's one thing to have you come in, help get someone organized, but what about the long term? How do you make it work in the long term?
You pretty much just look at it the same way. You remove the items that don't belong. You routinely put things away in the places you've decided that they do belong. And if you have new items, you have to create homes for them.
Okay. And you actually brought a couple of hangers on. Now, how important are hangers in organizing?
Most people have wire hangers in their closets, and I have 2 alternatives. The first one is a wooden hanger. This is very useful for blazers or coats or any other heavy object.
Mm-hmm.
This one here has material on it that prevents cloth from slipping. It's really useful for spaghetti straps or any t-shirts.
Okay.
It will help the clothing items to hang properly and to not fall off onto the floor.
Right, which creates clutter.
Exactly.
All right, well, Charlotte, thanks so much for the tips and coming on. It's an interesting topic because I think pretty much everybody is disorganized. Thanks a lot for coming on.
Thank you.
Coming up, there's a fine line between passion and obsession. Meet one football fan who crossed that line years ago and has made the Minnesota Vikings a big part of his life. Also, while some stop at sand castles, others get a little more advanced with their take on sand. We'll show you how some monks work on a message through sand painting.
Studio One closed captioning is underwritten in part by Options, your disability information source.
The University of North Dakota School of Medicine and Health Sciences is meeting the challenge of future healthcare workforce shortages. The state's only medical school produces the highest percentage of graduates nationwide who choose family medicine. Advanced degrees are also offered in basic medical sciences like anatomy and health professions like physical therapy. Students learn and train throughout the state.
In that way, we really are North Dakota.
Make your choice the UND School of Medicine and Health Sciences.
It's not the size of the woman in the fight. It's the size of the fight in the woman.
And now your UND and Me starting lineup.
Laura Slodhog, freshman, dietetics, Thompson, North Dakota.
Luke Warner, junior, commercial aviation from New Braunfels, Texas.
Katie Neal, freshman, biology, Grand Forks, North Dakota. Melanie Haugen, freshman, management, Can-Do, North Dakota.
Be what you want at UND. Go.und.edu.
Whether you're making a life-changing decision, changing your clothes, or getting change for $1, change is the process of becoming different. But what happens when the next Easter Bunny decides it's time for a change? This is a theme for the new animated comedy, Hop. From the creators of Despicable Me comes the comic tale of E.B. E.B. is a teenage rabbit on the verge of taking over his father's role as the Easter Bunny. But this bunny marches to the beat of his own drum. He slips off to Hollywood in hopes of becoming a famous drummer. He's hit by an aimless driver who guiltily takes him in. Back on Easter Island, the Easter Bunny's second-hand man assembles a brood of Easter chicks to take over the holiday. It's up to E.B. to fight for his birthright.
It has love, it has father issues, it has archetypal plots that have been found in human culture and indeed rabbit culture since the dawn of time. Will they? Won't they? Did they? Can you poo jelly beans? All these questions will be answered in the film Hop.
Director Tim Hill also worked on the film Garfield and the 2007 film Alvin and the Chipmunks. Hop bounds into theaters April 1st with a PG rating. Now it's time to look at the events happening in your area. Art can mean different things to different people. One group of artists shows us how art can be a philosophy.
People who walk into an art museum expect certain things. You rarely walk in on an artist whose work is incomplete. At this exhibit, the creative process is just as important as the finished piece.
Art is initiated or innovated by Buddha Shakyamuni, the Shakyamuni Buddha, who was born in Indian family 2,500 years ago.
These artists are working on a mandala. It consists of vibrant shades of dyed sand.
The first monk has to draw the line for the design of the mandala. When the lines are completed, then they start pouring the sand.
This makes for a pretty picture, But that's not the only reason why these monks from Tibet create the mandala.
To transform our mind, to get rid of negative emotion, or to obtain the enlightenment.
And a philosophy all its own.
Peace, harmony.
Organizers say their philosophy and positive attitude have an impact on people they meet.
I think it takes a lot of dedication and discipline to, sit there and finally paint this beautiful picture. Really amazing.
The monks believe in sharing peace and tranquility.
Develop love and compassion, not only for oneself, for your family, for your friends.
A complicated work of art, in the end, has just one simple message: love and be loved. With photographer Julie Beck, I'm Crystalline Casinada, reporting for Studio One.
After the painting is complete, the monks begin a deconstruction process to reflect on the impermanence of life. Coming up, when the snow melts away, it can leave behind rough roads. We'll tell you what cities do to smooth out the bumpy rides. That story plus news, sports, and weather in the next half hour of Studio One.
Closed captioning for Studio One is underwritten in part by NDAD, helping others to help themselves.
At the University of North Dakota Department of Music, our degrees are as unique as you are. UND's music education and music therapy programs boast a pass rate far above the national average on state and federal certification exams. Find out how the UND Department of Music can uniquely fit you.
What does cancer look like? What about diabetes, heart disease? Medical laboratory professionals are a vital link in the treatment of disease and maintenance of health. They investigate clues found in the body that will direct patient care. The University of North Dakota's laboratory science programs are some of the most innovative, far-reaching, fully accredited programs in the nation. The UND School of Medicine and Health Sciences can help you become one of the few who see beneath the surface.
Some consider graduation the end of the college experience. For others, it's just the beginning.
And the university provided an environment where I could grow.
And many years after I graduated, I'm still receiving dividends from my experience as a student at UND.
The University of North Dakota Alumni Association is committed to growing the university by growing the alumni family.
Your future depends on this moment. Take the path that leads to your future.
From the University of North Dakota in Grand Forks, this is Studio One.
Welcome back to Studio One.
Thanks for watching today. Have a lot of great stories coming up for you, and one of the things we're going to talk about are the fuel prices. And of course, many people are already talking about the fuel prices.
Yes, they just keep going up and up.
That's right. But what we asked people is, what's their favorite tip for saving fuel? And they gave us some interesting answers. We'll share those with you in a little bit. Also coming up in the next 30 minutes on Studio One, blue laws date back to the colonial era, but more and more states are getting rid of them. Find out the pros and cons of having certain businesses open on Sunday.
Also, in this barbershop, you may walk away with more than just a haircut. We'll tell you the life-changing story this barber tells his clients.
And cute, soft, and full of energy describes these furry little creatures. An expert is here to discuss some things you need to know before getting your first puppy. But first, here's today's news with Amy Unruh.
Thanks, Monty and Ashley. Japan continues their cleanup at the nuclear plant complex since it was damaged by the devastating earthquake and tsunami. Contaminated water was known to have leaked into the soil and sea and now the groundwater. Officials from the plant say radioactive contamination in groundwater is 10,000 times the government health standard. A spokesman for the company says there is no drinking water believed to be affected. A panel of American and Japanese nuclear experts has been put together to address the situation. A group of co-workers from New York are feeling extra lucky this week. The Albany 7 won the largest Mega Million jackpot in state history. The tickets were purchased at a local convenience store near their office. The winners buy lottery tickets periodically, but none of them ever thought they would win. After taxes, each person will receive over $19 million. Movie tickets, World Series tickets, and lottery tickets are gladly accepted, but there is one that is not, a speeding ticket. People are turning to new technology to help avoid getting pulled over. GPS and smartphone devices now have apps that notify drivers of speed trap locations. Many law enforcement officials are encouraging their use.
I've seen the app on some smartphones for speed traps, and a lot of police departments are actually getting online with that. They're advertising through those where the speed traps are going to be, with the intent of slowing people down instead of just trying to catch them.
Police and highway patrolmen agree that becoming aware of speed traps can decrease accidents. By getting this information on your GPS, you'll quickly get a heads up when it's time to slow down. As hospitals face budget cuts, they often cut their nursing staff. However, research published in the New England Journal of Medicine shows that nursing shortages are linked with an increase in patient deaths, about 2 to 6% higher. These deaths occur from inappropriate patient transfers and discharges, and the nursing staff having higher shift turnover rates. The sheer lack of numbers can put higher stress on each individual nurse. This can lead to compromised decisions, in the end affecting their patient lives. Blue laws prohibit sales on Sunday, most notably of alcohol. Many states are getting rid of them, but some face opposition.
Busy-bodied drivers cruise the city streets every day, but on one day of the week, in one state, it's against the law to simply go out and buy a vehicle. An automobile isn't the only thing a Minnesotan can't buy on a Sunday.
It's made it slightly more inconvenient at times, depending on where at, but certainly nothing close to a dramatic lifestyle change.
In Minnesota, it's against the law for liquor stores to be open on Sundays as well. This new bill is attempting to give the of legal age consumer the choice of coming in or staying out. Minnesota is bordered by 4 other states. All of them allow liquor store sales on Sunday.
For those areas around the state that face competition across state lines, for states that do sale on Sunday, obviously they're at a competitive disadvantage.
Supporters of the new bill say that people will drink liquor on Sundays one way or the other. Detractors of the bill say that this could hurt mom and pop shops, as they'll need to hire additional staff to compete against bigger businesses.
For me, just as an observer, it will be interesting to see if this law takes effect, how it affects East Grand Forks, if it does at all.
Whether or not this will help or hurt local liquor stores is still unknown, but logging less miles on a Sunday to pick up Grandpa's old cough medicine could be on the horizon for some Minnesotan residents. With photographer Dylan Reichstad, I'm Ryan Bachman reporting for Studio One.
Some government officials argue that Sunday liquor sales could bring in as much as $10 million in tax revenue. The next stop for the bill is the Senate Finance Committee. And that's the news for now. Monty and Ashley?
Thanks, Amy. Well, you can be sure there'll be a lot of debate and discussion.
There always is over hot topics like that.
Yeah.
Well, let's go now to Ben Shank for the weather news.
Thanks, Monty and Ashley. Here at the Weather Studio, we're keeping an eye on an interesting development. The past few years, Lake Nacimiento has been experiencing a drought. This year, no more, however. They're actually experiencing quite the opposite, as their lake is approaching flood stage. For the first time since the 1980s, the floodgates on this lake are actually open. And for many local residents, farmers and water enthusiasts alike are actually quite rejoiced by this and seeing this new trend and hoping that it'll last a little bit longer so they can get some better farming conditions and better water conditions for their activities. Now, city officials are being rather cautious and encouraging people to be a little bit hesitant going out on the waters. As the rising waters increase, they're kind of disguising more and more of the normally kind of dormant, hidden threats around the lake. And so they're cautioning you to be certain to use that depth finder if you're going out on the lake to kind of avoid hidden hazards. Now, flooding here in the Midwest is quite common. Now, it does have a dramatic impact on the roads and how the cities fix those.
Melting snow and warmer temperatures mean one thing: spring. But for cities that experience rough winters, the roads can be just as rough after the snow melts.
The biggest problem we have is having a melt with a freeze right behind it, because what happens is the moisture from the snow melting will get underneath the pavement or the asphalt, and then it'll refreeze. And when it refreezes, it makes that concrete or asphalt pop, and that's what causes the pothole.
But potholes during this time of year are only part of the problem. You may also notice a new pond or two on your daily commute.
One of the fields just west of town melted off a lot overnight yesterday and flooded that street out.
This adds to the many different types of road conditions that come with the snowmelt. Because of these, city officials say drivers should use more caution.
Be aware of your surroundings. Even though a speed limit might be posted 40 miles an hour, you have to be careful. If you're out on the highway or if you're in town, you never know when a pothole will spring up on you. And they may not be posted or marked.
So even if the weather is getting nicer, the same cannot be said for the roads. Reporting for Studio One Weather, this is Stephanie Waldref.
Now, city officials are expecting for the roads to be a little bit worse this year, as it had a little bit harsher winter. And so there might actually go a little bit over budget. But that brings us back to our weather question of the day. How much does the city of Grand Forks budget to fix potholes? The answer is actually $25,000. So quite a large number, not a little bit more than what I expected.
Yeah, that was a little more than I expected too, but anything to fix those bumpy roads.
Right.
Thank you so much, Ben.
No problem.
And fix it they will. It's called job security, right?
That's what it is. You know, as long as you have potholes, somebody's going to have a job.
That's right. Okay, well, let's turn again to someone who still has his job for the time being, our sports anchor, David Folsky.
Thanks, Monty and Ashley. The National Football League is home to some of the most passionate fans in all of sports. One man, with the help of his friends, is taking his passion to a whole new level.
Purple and gold aren't the most common color choices for an interior decorator, but the owner of this man cave wouldn't have it any other way than filled with Minnesota pride from floor to ceiling.
And I'm proud to represent the Vikings because they represent to me more than a football team.
Not only does Carl Heinrichs decorate his home with purple pride, but he also wears it all over his body. He's a member of the Vikings World Order, an elite group of hardcore superfans.
They come from all walks of life. One of them's a cop from Las Vegas. One of them's a fireman from Bloomington. One of them's from New Jersey. One of them's, we got members from Arizona.
The commander of the VWO is a familiar painted face to most Vikings fans.
Sid is the guy who's been in the end zone for 20 years, catching Randy Moss, catching AP. He's the one that's on TV during the games, man. He represents the Vikings.
Sid Davey hasn't missed a home game in over 2 decades.
Sid started all this, though, man. Sid started the Viking World Order. He came up with that. He started hooking up with other hardcore fans, and then he knighted them in and stuff.
Getting knighted in is just the beginning of the VWO's deeply rooted tradition.
You got to get a Vikings World Order tattoo. That's the most, because you got to prove that you're going to bleed for your team. That's just to intimidate a little bit.
The bonds between these fans are even stronger than the players they root for.
I got a lot of friends, man. I got high school friends, college friends, friends from work, stuff like that. But my Viking friends, man, and the Viking World Order, man, those guys are like brothers, man.
And a VWO brother is a friend for life. This is Brian Gendro reporting for Studio One.
Unlike the football team they root for, the VWO doesn't have an off-season. They're politically involved in getting the Vikings a new stadium. For more information on a new stadium, you can go to savethevikes.org. Now, the answer to this week's Studio One Sports Trivia question: how many cows does it take to supply the leather for a year's worth of NFL footballs? It is 3,000. Yeah, that's a lot. That's the sports, Monty and Ashley.
Thanks, David. As we know, oppositions against regimes are rising up in the Middle East. In the U.S., gas prices are rising as well. We wanted your thoughts on how you save money on fuel.
And if you're not all that flexible but are still into dance, you may want to choose a style where the footwork is the most important part. we'll show you some people who step to the tunes.
How do we save energy? How does your water get clean? What can fix the flooding? What is biomass? What is carbon? Where does energy come from? How does pollution hurt the earth?
Join over 350 EERC team members to find the answers.
At the University of North Dakota Department of Music, our degrees are as unique as you are. UND's music education and music therapy programs boast a pass rate far above the national average on state and federal certification exams. Find out how the UND Department of Music can uniquely fit you.
Studio One is a television show produced by staff and students at the University of North Dakota. Here you actually get to do your own stories and you get to go out and talk to people and interview and learn about the cameras and everything that goes into like a live television production. I mean, it's incredible.
Give it a try. I mean, even if you're not broadcasting communications major, anything, I mean, it's worth it.
At the University of North Dakota School of Engineering and Mines, I can experience education that fits my goals.
Become a competitive graduate in a global market and learn in small class sizes where professors are also mentors.
Work in a diverse team and inspire young minds.
Help develop world-class research.
Gain state-of-the-art technical knowledge while building strong business and leadership skills.
And stay connected even after I graduate.
You're looking at a shot of our studio audience. Roseau High School is here, as well as some others. Thanks for coming today. The transition to college can be tough for anyone. It can be especially hard to find a way to step into a niche on campus. We met a few fraternity brothers who found a way to hop through the challenges of a university.
Kappa Alpha Psi Fraternity Incorporated, Omega Psi Phi Fraternity Incorporated.
With hundreds of fraternities and sororities to pick from across the country, the decision can be difficult. For a lot of people, there are factors that contribute to which one they join, whether it's
community service, principles, leadership, brotherhood.
Everything helps decide. For these men, they happen to step into a fraternity with a little different style.
We like to call it suave, debonair. We're seen out of the group as the pretty boys. So, you know, we like to wear suits when we step.
You heard them right, step. But they aren't stepping into a meeting. They're expressing themselves through their roots. But the men of Kappa Alpha Psi don't just use their feet and hands for their pretty boy style.
This ties into our African traditions. And so in many African cultures, people that carry canes are wise. And so throughout the history, we've gotten, you know, the canes have changed, and now we use them for twirling and doing tricks.
All of the fraternities have their own version of step. The members in Camel like to make the ground rumble in their Omega jungle with a style they don't refer to as stepping.
And our fraternity does hop. It's my fraternity brother. Everybody does hop, and we're the only organization that actually hops. We don't really step. You'll see a lot of differences in that. If you see the camo, you know, the purple shirt, the gold boots, that is definitely Omega Psi Phi.
Brotherhood and tradition are a big part of fraternal life. These men found a tradition that helped them grow as people and step, or in some cases hop, as brothers. With photographer Dylan Reichstad, I'm John Schaefer, Studio One.
Both fraternities are competing in the Midwest Step Competition at the University of Minnesota in Minneapolis. The smell of gasoline on your hands is not the only thing that can be a hassle while filling up your vehicle. In this time of high fuel costs, a person's checkbook balance might suffer too. Special tips and habits can easily cut down fuel costs. We asked your thoughts on ways to save a few bucks at the pump.
We don't travel as much out of town, or, you know, it's still important things like Sioux hockey games. That's it.
My commute from home to hospital is just 0.3 miles. So probably that's the only way I'm coping with the rising prices.
Conscious effort not to make any extra trips anywhere. Otherwise, we're just, kind of doing our normal way we do things.
Shopping, I'm going more to cooking home meals now.
I guess the only thing I really do is try to put all of my errands together on the same day so that I'm not constantly running out.
I've been trying to slow down and not speed up like stop signs.
Barber shops are known for a clean shave, good haircuts, and friendly talks. One group of barbers will give you one of those conversations that will stick with you much longer than your hairstyle.
Every snip, cut, and eventually leads to. But if you ask the guys at People Barbers, that isn't their favorite part.
And get to meet people, joke around, visit. It's a good business.
It's an atmosphere that is a staple of yesteryear. These haircut havens are associated with a period when times were simpler and when families were more connected. This is a family of barbers that has over 30 years together. And in order to work together, you'd think they've got to love being with each other, right?
It's all right. We get along. After the camera, I'll tell you the whole truth.
But don't get me wrong, these guys do get along and have had some unbelievable experiences.
If they want to know about it, yes, I will tell them. And I'm going to praise the Lord and give him all the glory there.
When you sit down to get your hair done, odds are you're going to have a couple of conversations. But if you sit down in one of these chairs, you're going to hear a life-changing story.
I said, thank you, Lord, for giving me 52 years of life. I thought that was the end of me.
A family vacation planned, a gone fishing sign posted on the barbershop door, and the guys took off for the lake. The water was choppy that day, and a fun fishing trip quickly turned into chaos.
We had about 2 fish left to catch, and then before you knew it, somebody started yelling, started getting ready to shovel some water, and next second we were upside down, fighting for our lives.
Almost everyone jumped out of the boat and was rescued, except Alonzo.
When the boat capsized, it cut an air pocket because it capsized so fast. And the water stopped right by my neck.
The boat Alonzo had been enjoying moments ago was now trapping him in the bitter cold water with little air to survive. He didn't know how to swim, so he clung to the boat and his life under this area. As hypothermia and panic set in, so did Alonzo's loss of consciousness. He says it felt like 5 minutes, but after 3 hours, he was down to what he thought were his last breaths. And finally, prayers were answered.
The people from Lake of the Woods rescued us, but the Lord saved all 7 of us.
An experience like Alonzo's can be tough to recover from, but every snip, every buzz, and every person that sits in his chair gets to hear his story and heal his heart.
Since his near-death experience, Alonzo has not yet gone fishing. He hopes to soon conquer his fears and go back on the water. Puppies can put a smile on your face when you're feeling down, but being a responsible pet owner is more than just having a furry friend. Someone who works with potential pets every day will tell us how you can decide if you are right for a pet.
Closed captioning for Studio One is underwritten in part by the Listen Center, where meeting friends at Listen is a groovy thing to do and has been since the days of Woodstock.
Accounting at the University of North Dakota is more than just numbers. It's about maintaining a history of high-quality education and developing leaders in the accounting profession. While numbers stay the same, the UND accounting program continues to evolve. UND hosts one of the country's best accounting programs and now offers a master's degree in accountancy. Accounting at the University of North Dakota. Numbers accelerated.
And now your UND and Me starting lineup.
Kate Wilson, sophomore, English education, Rochester, Minnesota.
Dalford John, freshman in commercial aviation, Grenada, West Indies.
Jake Baker, sophomore in aviation management and UAS operations, Seattle, Washington.
Sinkeith Slater, senior, sociology, Minot, North Dakota.
Be what you want at UND. Go.und.edu.
Help others live to their full potential. Improve clients' mental and physical well-being. Excel in one of the top healthcare careers of the future. Occupational therapy students at the University of North Dakota experience high-quality education in small classes.
Has to come to 45 degrees, even in a normal motion pattern.
Your healthcare career begins at the University of North Dakota.
Some consider graduation the end of the college experience. For others, it's just the beginning.
And the university provided an environment where I could grow.
And many years after I graduated, I'm still receiving dividends from my experience as a student at UND.
The University of North Dakota Alumni Association is committed to growing the university by growing the alumni family.
Puppies are cute, cuddly, and perfect for most families, but you have to consider if you are right for the pet. Many people decide they want a puppy without doing their research. This leads to an overabundance of animals in shelters. Grand Forks Humane Society Executive Director Arlette Moan will tell us things to consider before making this commitment. Thank you for joining us today. It's great to have you.
Thank you for having me.
So what are some things you should consider if you are right for the pet?
Well, the first thing you need to consider is what kind of lifestyle you have. Your lifestyle determines the kind of pet you should have. You might think that you are in the market for a St. Bernard, but when you really look at all the factors involved, what you should really have is a hamster. So you have to consider how much time you have for a pet. Are you gone all day? Are you a student? Do you have a lot of activities? If you're gone 12 hours a day, you might want a pet that has there's no pet that requires no care, but you might want to pick a pet that requires less care than, say, a puppy that requires being taken out every two hours or so. So it's really important to consider your lifestyle first and foremost to see what kind of pet best fits you.
Mm-hmm. You don't want to buy a pet that's so overly active when you're not home that much.
Absolutely, because all pets need socialization. Even hamsters and guinea pigs need socialization, but not to the extent that puppies do. Puppies need to be taught what to do. They don't automatically know how to go to the bathroom. They don't know not to chew your shoes. They don't know how to react to people. They need to be taught those things. Mm-hmm. And you can't do that when they can't do that when they're kept in kennels for 8 to 10 hours a day.
Are there any physical characteristics you need to look for when looking for a pet?
Well, physical characteristics, from my point of view, is probably less important than actually the temperament of the dog. If you are concerned about being allergic, if you're concerned about the size of a pet, if you're concerned about hair everywhere, those are things you might want to consider. And yes, if you live in a small apartment, you certainly don't want a St. Bernard or a Great Pyrenees in your apartment. If you live on a farm, that might be a consideration. You might want to consider those things. If you're very particular about your house, the condition of your house, you might not want a dog that sheds a lot. But again, there are no dogs that don't shed that. So if you're very meticulous about housekeeping, pets may not be on your list of things to get.
How much does a pet cost over the long run?
It's difficult to say because every pet requires different things. Cats and dogs obviously require high quality food, they require toys, they require bedding, they require vet visits if they get into accidents, if they get ill. Those are additional costs over and above the normal food, cat litter kind of thing. Mm-hmm. So again, that's hard to say. It's hard to say how much a pet is going to cost, but they are not cheap. If you're interested in getting a pet for nothing, even if you get a giveaway pet or a pet for free, that pet is not free over the lifetime of the pet. And you need to think about a pet being a lifetime commitment, and that commitment could be 10 to 15 years.
Yeah, it's always updating the shots, updating the food, making sure that they are comfortable.
Absolutely.
How do you know if a pet is good for your family?
Again, take a look at your lifestyle. Take a look at the activities the kids are in. Take a look at how active your family is. If you do have the time for a pet, get a pet that has a high energy level. Many labs have high energy levels, Springer Spaniels. There are a lot of pets that just like to bounce off the walls. And those are the kind of pets that need active outdoor families. You may be the kind of family that is quieter, doesn't spend a lot of time outdoors, so you might prefer having a cat in your home. But you want to do some research. You need to think about this. You need to research different breeds of animals, cats, dogs, birds, small mammals.
Are there certain questions you have to ask breeders when you're going out and researching puppies and other animals?
Well, if you're interested in a breeder, you want to use a reputable breeder, and those are the breeders that want to breed animals for the good qualities in their pets. They want to perpetuate those qualities. So you want to see that those puppies are raised in a home, that there aren't many litters a year, and that they don't have a lot of animals that they're breeding at one time, and that they're happy for you to come and see how the puppies are raised in their homes. So those are things that you want to consider if you're looking at a breeder. Although again, there are many pets in animal shelters all across the country that need good homes. So.
How do you know if you're purchasing from a reputable breeder?
Well, I think those things that I just mentioned, make sure you talk to them, talk to them about health certificates, talk to them about how the puppies are raised, if they're raised in a home, if you can come and meet them in the home, that kind of thing. I think that's important.
There's so much to go along with buying a pet instead of just a simple, I think this pet looks cute, I want this one. It's more of a commitment. But thank you so much for joining us today.
You're welcome. Thank you for having me.
You're watching Studio One from the University of North Dakota. We'll be right back after this.
What does cancer look like? What about diabetes, heart disease? Medical laboratory professionals are a vital link in the treatment of disease and maintenance of health. They investigate clues found in the body that will direct patient care. The University of North Dakota's laboratory science programs are some of the most innovative, far-reaching, fully accredited programs in the nation. The UND School of Medicine and Health Sciences can help you become one of the few who see beneath the surface.
Studio One is a television show produced by staff and students at the University of North Dakota. Here you actually get to do your own stories and you get to go out and talk to people and interview and learn about the cameras and everything that goes into like a live television production. I mean, it's incredible.
Give it a try. I mean, even if you're not broadcasting communications major, anything, I mean, it's worth it.
Help others live to their full potential. Improve clients' mental and physical well-being. Excel in one of the top healthcare careers of the future. Occupational therapy students at the University of North Dakota experience high-quality education in small classes.
Not to come to 45 degrees, even in a normal motion pattern.
Your healthcare career begins at the University of North Dakota.
The University of North Dakota School of Medicine and Health Sciences is meeting the challenge of future healthcare workforce shortages. The state's only medical school produces the highest percentage of graduates nationwide who choose family medicine. Advanced degrees are also offered in basic medical sciences like anatomy and health professions like physical therapy. Students learn and train throughout the state.
In that way, we really are North Dakota.
Make your choice the UND School of Medicine and Health Sciences.
How do we save energy? How does your water get clean? What can fix the flooding? What is biomass? What is carbon? Where does energy come from? How does pollution hurt the earth?
Join over 350 EERC team members to find the answers.
Tune in next week on Studio One. They're fit, amped up, and wear crazy costumes. We'll take you inside the ring of some professional wrestlers. Plus, we'll have other news and entertainment stories for you.
And we're going to leave you now with pictures of wrestling antics and the fans that love to believe it's all true. From all of us here at Studio One, have a great week.